Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Sunday night and another episode of the Fear the Walking Dead After Show on AFTERBUZZ TV. We're covering the second to last episode of Season 2. This is crazy. So much is happening. It's all culminating in an absolutely amazing finale next week. We're going to lead you right up to it, talk about everything that happened in tonight's episode. Stick around. We'll see you guys in just 1 second.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Oh my gosh, punk rock this time.
Can't love the fact you call this punk rock.
It's not punk rock.
I have to say, I've loved our song selections this season. I think
Strong.
we've been kicking ass with
Yeah,
it.
we
Not
brought
too
our
bad.
A game.
This is pretty far from punk rock, I have to be honest.
It is.
But,
Yeah.
But more punk rock than anything we've ever used on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hey. Hey.
Shrug
It is.
shoulders.
You are
mini
right in
mini
that.
shoulder shrugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the AFTERBUZZ TV
Hello.
After Show for Fear the Walking Dead Season 2. Episode 12, Date of Death.
What sounds like a terrible game show.
Date of Death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dead of Death, hosted by
Alex Trebek.
Alex
Needs work.
Trebek.
It's like that. It's that old like Chris Farley sketch from SNL where he's on the Japanese game show, and every time somebody loses, they have to like cut their finger off.
Yes.
He's like, "I'm sorry, I don't speak Japanese." You know.
Oh, rest in
great.
peace, Chris Farley.
Yeah, it's my favorite ever.
He's dead.
So welcome to the show, guys. I'm your host, Ben Bateman, joined today by a wonderful, wonderful panel of co-hosts, starting with Miss Ashley Chatman.
What's up, guys? My fingers are still intact, and you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Ashley_Chatman.
You don't want to know about my fingers, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Showbiz Simon.
And you guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media on Twitter and Instagram. Let's get into the show, guys.
Okay.
We are going to break down the whole episode really quickly, of course, though, before we do, I should remind everybody, we're on iTunes. If you guys give us a rating or a review, it helps us stay high in the standings. We provide free content here at AfterBuzz TV. We would like to continue to do that. So if you can go, just give us a quick review. Just be like, I enjoyed the show. It really helps us. And, of course, leave your comments below on YouTube. We will interact with you
Of course.
as well. So we'll start out with where we left off 2 episodes ago.
Yes.
Chris killing the farmer who had the same birthday as him. A man whose name is Suarez, right?
Elias.
Elias
Suarez. And the fallout that Travis experienced he had to start letting his son go. So what did you guys think? What was your initial reaction when it happened 2 weeks ago, the gunshot, and then where we picked up from now?
Well, Chris is a funny character. You know, we all know he's a dick. But just when you think he can't be more of a dick, he
gets more
manages to
dickish.
out-dick himself.
Yeah. It's a shame we
know-
didn't have a song called Out Dicking Myself, because we would have used it tonight.
Right. No, hang on. I'm going to answer. Go home, right song, out to dicking myself.
There's dick in a box.
Got it,
too,
there it
actually,
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just he never fails to generate a WTF. He's just a walking disaster zone as a character. And I think Travis kind of knows that, but he just can't give up on that last little bit of faith and hope that his son is not a total basket case.
Yeah.
And I will admit that I got a little faked out a little bit. I thought that Travis coming to the hotel, that meant that he killed Chris, which could still very well happen. But I was thinking, okay, he's come back and Chris is now dead, and that would be like a really pivotal crux for Travis. But all in all, I'm just... Like, I'm not really surprised as much anymore by Chris's actions because we've seen the demise. But I'm also just starting to get a little bit more angry at Chris. It's kind of like you're saying, you're barely 16 years old. Like, where do you kind of come off thinking that this is how life is? And he seems to have completely disconnected from Travis, who has literally been there for him since day one and has been just trying to, keep this little family together, like trying to connect with Chris. And he's just completely pushed him aside almost. Like, I don't know why he just feels so comfortable with removing himself from all emotion and feeling when it comes to Travis, and then just going off with these complete strangers who he knows absolutely nothing about.
Well, he's kind of a sociopath, right? And it also seems like I was thinking about this tonight in the episode. So we do try to avoid obviously the direct comparisons to Walking Dead, but it is the same creators, the same writers, so you have to kind of draw from that. His ideas, as far as the family relationships that go along with the disintegrating world and the zombies that come with it. Travis's plight is not one we've seen before. It's this exact arc with a character. It's sort of surprising that we haven't actually seen this yet. Either a father and son, mother and daughter, mother and son, something like this, where you're watching your child turn not into a zombie, but into a psychopath.
Yeah.
And they're adapting to the world around them in the way that the survival of the fittest way that so many characters in the universe seem to.
Well, in The Walking Dead, we've seen, people just become, a bit of a liability or just, become a bit of an a-hole. But we, as you say, we haven't seen them go bad, but we haven't seen this same dynamic with anybody in the other show either. I think for Travis, it's not just about saving Chris. It's about, he's still got this really strong bond with failing his wife.
Yeah.
Because he promised his wife that, he would look after Chris and make sure that Chris was okay.
Right.
And he still can't let that go. There's a thing with Travis where when he's burying people, there's this humanity. He still sees people with names, with identities. And, obviously his son Chris has now kind of looked at everyone as they're just a piece of meat. They're either in his way or they're not in his way. If they're in his way, he'll kill them. He doesn't see any differentiation between the Walking Dead and the living.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone's it's just meat at the end of a gun for him. Doesn't matter.
I find it frustrating, I think, that... So, okay, from the beginning of the show, and we've all talked about this quite a bit, you had Madison and you had Travis. And it really seemed like they had sort of warring ideals as the world was adapting around them, the way they were internalizing everything and the people they were becoming. We've seen these moments out of Maddie now where she's had that total Rick Grimes, I'm in control, very pragmatic. But then she also has these other moments, like we saw tonight with opening the gate, with turning on the light, with bartering with a drug lord to try to get Nick back. These moments where you're just like, you are losing it. This is not the way that somebody who takes control and actually understands the world would act. But she seems to be sort of willing to say, we can only save who we can save. She has that sort of, that pragmatist role. Travis, on the other hand, from the very beginning, has had the sort of opposite approach, which you're talking about, humanity. Everybody has a name. Everybody, you can save every life. You don't have to kill Liza, right? We can save Liza. That was his first reaction.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of frustrating. It doesn't seem like at this point, 2 seasons in, either of them has totally gotten it yet. It's like for somebody to really be the linchpin of a show like this, you need them to get it.
Yeah.
You need them to fully get it. And I sort of, for the longest time, thought Madison was going to get it. It's in some ways feels like she never quite will, or maybe that's the journey she's going through with Alicia now.
Well, I think we've seen a number of characters, this, especially the second half of the season, kind of there's an element of resignation where it does start to dawn on them that they can't hold on to what they were looking to do in the first place. We saw it first of all with Strand, and then now we're seeing it with Maddie, we're seeing it with Travis, and we've seen it with the girls already. They're kind of making decisions. We're going to do something. We're going to move on. We're going to face a reality and do that. We haven't seen it with the adults. It's almost like the adults are the last ones to get it because they need to hold on to that more.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, I think also the fact that Chris is, as we heard again in the show tonight, sort of, he's barely 16 years old.
Yeah.
I bet when we were 15, we all thought that we knew everything, that we
Right.
had all the
That's
answers,
true.
that our parents didn't know anything. They came from a different world.
Yeah.
It was different for them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this just involves guns and the undead.
Yeah, that's true. I think we're seeing a lot more relationships with parent-child too than we've ever seen with The Walking Dead as well.
There always been individuals banding together and being picked up.
Exactly, and I don't think we've seen the relationships really shelved out this far in depth too.
Well, also, to be totally fair to that, I mean, when that show started, there was a group that we started with in the first 6 episodes, many of whom died very quickly.
Yeah.
And the families, the sisters, the wives, the best
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
Within a couple of years, most of those people were dead.
Yeah.
We're a couple of years in, and we really haven't lost a seminal character yet, right? Like actually somebody's. I mean, I guess Salazar was the closest to
Was
one of those
closest
characters that we
to it,
lost.
yeah.
And that's a family member. But I thought it was interesting the conversation that Travis was having with Chris in the barn. It's actually no, it wasn't with Chris. It was with the guy who he's trying to save the guy, Zach?
James.
James. And he mutters to himself, no matter where we go, it's the same story, just different people. And I think that's the realization that he's starting to have, which is that this is the way the world is going.
Yeah.
I can't stop it. If my son is going in this direction and I can't talk him out of it, what the hell chance do I have in saving myself? And maybe that moment that he's in the shower at the end there, that's his moment of resignation. Maybe he's saying to himself, you know what? I just have to let it go. And this is the way the world is now.
I'm not quite convinced that that would be his last moment of resignation. I think if we're going with the I guess plot point that he ends up having to kill Chris, which could very well happen in the season finale, I think that probably would be more of the point. I think he's kind of in this woe is me, because the way he set it up, I had no choice. Like to me, it almost seems he's convinced that he actually did kill Chris. Like by letting him go with these men, he's kind of led him to his death.
Well, and at some point they're going to turn around and they're going to want to kill Chris because Chris is going to lose his usefulness at some point.
Right.
You
or
know.
maybe even realize, like, snap into it. You know, have like a moment of clarity and realize, okay, this family is actually the ones who really care about me. These people who I've banded with, they don't. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways that it could go, but overall, I don't think that he's quite there yet. Just from his interaction with Madison, I just still feel like he's kind of in this,
Yeah.
Pity me party.
Well, yeah, he also has the line when he's explaining to Madison later what happened. He says, if I had let them kill James, I would have done right by my son.
Yeah.
Which I think is fascinating that he still is he's saying that out loud.
Yeah.
Letting them kill James would have been doing right by my son because that's what he wanted.
Yeah.
That's where he's like not totally over it yet.
Yeah.
But you know what? I still don't think it would have made any difference with Chris. I think because Chris is, well, he described himself. I mean, he didn't use the phrase, but it's kind of like a shitty butterfly. I wasn't just, I was just adapting. I wasn't broken.
I was adapting.
Yeah.
I'm good now. He says.
Yeah, and it's like. It's everyone else is having resignations and realizations, and he's having a transformation. But I think he's going to very quickly realize that when his dad's not there, it's almost like he's still rebelling against his father's protectiveness now,
right?
And kind of reinterpreting what his dad had told him when he was younger. But he's just a body to these guys. I realised that when they were trying to get James into the back of the truck, they were like, "Let's all grab a corner," and I was like, "Great." If they kill one of them, they've only got 3 people.
Yeah.
Now, if you're trying to move something like a mattress or whatever, then it's going to be really difficult to do with 3 people. So they always need to have 4 in that little squad of the Bromigos.
Yeah.
That's what they've got to do. So they need whoever that is, and it doesn't matter. They could pick up anybody by the side of the road, but they just need to have a certain number to make whatever they're doing work.
Characters like that, also like those guys, are a little bit frustrating because they're not frustrating. It's that they're very two-dimensional in this world.
Yeah.
They don't give us much to understand why these guys are the way they are, where they come from, what they. Aside from just the survival of the fittest mentality, which is pretty common in the post-apocalyptic world. Like, you see it happen
They're
a lot.
one-season characters. They're going to die at some point.
They're just villains. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, moving on from that story, I think that pretty much covers everything that went down, aside from those guys showing up at the gate at the end of the episode, which should turn into some pretty good drama, I think, going forward. Now, I heard in the scenes from next week, Travis yelling Chris's name, but we didn't see Chris at the gate, did we?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we saw the 2 guys.
It looked like there was a Mexican guy and then the other 2 guys.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that Chris could be the 4th.
Yeah.
But
or he could be somewhere nearby. We don't know, but I don't
Chris
know.
could be an undead.
Oh.
He could be a walker. You could see him in the crowd as a walker.
True. Very true. So, speaking of showing up at the gate, we also have Travis when he leaves the guys and shows up to the gate with this huge group. 43 of them, I believe they said.
Can I just say, that gate, pointless. Couldn't they all just go down to the beach?
No, that's what I thought. I thought
and walk around.
After a few minutes of seeing that they're not going to let us in, this is a huge-ass hotel. I would have tried some other way. I would have dug my way. I would have pulled a, Looney Tunes move and, like, try to dig my way out underneath from someplace.
Boost each other up and get over the gate. And
but the wall for the hotel doesn't go all the way down to the beach.
Yeah.
So they could have just, I mean, I know they've got wheelie suitcases and they're a little bit difficult on sand, but, if you're fleeing the undead for your life, you kind of make it work. But I was just like, why don't they just walk around the wall?
I had the same feeling. I also, the other moment where you're like, Madison's totally pragmatic right up until she's not, is when she's like, no, we can't let you in, and then it's like, I'll just walk up to this gate, right up to these people where they could grab me. And I'll just be like, sorry, I'm not going to let you in, but I'm going to stand right in front of you. You can grab me through the gate. And not only that, I'm going to open the gate just long enough to let this guy who's my husband, so he's more valuable than you guys, in, and then shut it and lock it on you. None of you are going to push it open.
Yeah, exactly.
None of you are going to grab me and threaten to tear my fucking arms off unless... I just was like... And it took the whole exchange of opening the gate, took, what, 8 seconds of screen time?
Yeah.
I just was like, this is one of those moments, it's like a head scratcher. From them not going around the gate to the beach to that was just like...
Yeah, I know.
Right?
No, it felt weird. It didn't feel like common sense on either side. Like, okay, if the gate is open, we're pushing our way in here one way or another. We're jumping this gate, or we're not letting this guy get in, type of thing.
I did love Maddie's sorry face. It was like, You're so not sorry. Sorry, not sorry.
And I love Alicia's. I know. Like the whole episode. I know. You'll say.
Yeah.
Like if you were one of those people and she walked up to the gate and she had said she was not going to let you in, wouldn't you grab her arm?
Yeah.
I'm not going to let her go until you let us in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd think. I mean, I'm not even a violent person. I think in that situation, I think it's 100% what I would do.
Right.
Well, or just go around the gate to the beach. That seems a good idea.
Yeah, that's less violent, Ben.
Yeah.
Ben Bateman's lessons for today, folks. Yeah. Brought to you by.
So anyway, but eventually they do let everybody in.
They do.
They decide to let them all in, and they're treating them. And this is before the conversation that Madison and Alicia end up having. And it looks like they don't have medicine for all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. So this woman's like, "Oh, I got hit with a bat. It's not a bite."
Yeah.
But they have let a group of people in,
Yeah.
and there are some of them, in theory, that are probably infected. They're probably bitten.
Potentially. Well, that's what they're going to sort out, I think. So I think what we're going to see is, predicting ahead to next week, I think we're going to see some of the ones that might be ill slightly turning, and then you've got the ones within again, and then you've got obviously the threats from outside.
Right,
So.
which is just, it's just, again, it's like, who made this decision? I mean, I get it. You got to appeal to the humanity. So if you see a group of people out there who need help, you want to let them in. But
Yeah.
if they're people, you don't know if they're infected or if they're dying, anyone could just drop at any point, and then bam, now you have, a really dangerous situation for everybody else. And then also he mentioned that resources too are scarce. They don't have
yeah.
the resources to help feed or nurse 43 people. I mean, they barely have enough to take care of themselves.
Although
so
looking at the minibar, apparently they've got a load of booze.
they do.
They
that
do.
Could help. So
Strand is
So
letting
it's
that.
going
margarita
to be
party? Yay.
Fiesta!
Fiesta.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just, I don't know. I don't know if Madison made, I don't think she even knew. I think they just kind of decided without her to let them all in. But
We
it just
didn't see
seem
that.
like a
We didn't
purchase.
see
We
that in
didn't
the
see that
show at
exchange.
all.
Yeah, but she
Also-
didn't seem like she knew.
Also, all the characters other than Strand and the crazy mother were down helping, right? We saw everybody. So
Yeah.
the mother must be locked in her room, and Strand must be in his room
Well,
recuperating.
she might just go, stabbing people willy-nilly
Good
as
for
she
Cocoa
tends to
Puffs,
do.
yeah.
I mean, she's a terrible guest.
Yeah. Awful.
She's got no manners.
The worst.
Can't just go around stabbing
Just the
people.
worst.
Yeah. So Travis, when he's talking to Maddie, also has this whole spiel that he goes on about the last thing he said to Chris.
Yeah.
And the last words I said to him were "God damn you," and that's the last thing he'll remember. And about letting him down, and this responsibility to Liza, which spooked Maddie.
Yeah.
Now, while we were watching it, I said to you guys, I kind of want to rewind that because I felt like, and obviously it's explained in the next scene, but it really got to Maddie. It really, really got to her. Did you find it surprising at all that wasn't ever something that she had just, I don't know, had her own epiphany? Like, we're in the post-apocalyptic world. Shouldn't I tell Alicia this? It took that conversation to realize that?
I think, but I think she didn't feel that she had to at any point.
Yeah.
And I think she's kind of, it's like everybody's laying out, all their stuff out there.
Dear demon,
Yeah, and she was like, I just can't. Otherwise, she's going to do a Maddie thing, and in a moment of bleh, she's going to get that moment and go, oh, by the way, your dad left a note when he, crashed a car and killed himself. Which, to be honest with you, apparently he left it in the glove box.
Yeah.
I hope the reason that he crashed the car wasn't because he was writing the notes at the time. And there was more to it than, I love you all, but enough is enough.
He was texting, folks.
Don't do it.
text
I
me
mean,
back.
I love you all, but enough's enough is a brutal thing to hear
Yeah.
your dad
Yeah.
say. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
And just like she said, just painstrikingly precise. It's
Yeah.
like, enough's enough. It's like,
Yeah,
really?
it's
That's
like,
it?
ooh.
Nothing? Like, love dad, no
Burn.
nothing, no signature.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can't, I'm imagining, you can't really write a note saying, family, kind of pissing me off, about to kill myself.
So-
Love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love you all,
XOXO.
enough's
Yeah,
enough.
seriously.
Sincerely.
Yeah.
Sincerely. But no, I agree. It did feel a little out of place. I honestly thought she left, not necessarily because she was spooked. I thought she was just tired of hearing Travis's just crying the whole, it was draining
It's kind
to
of a
hear
pity
it.
party. Yeah.
And the thing
Big time.
is that she can kind of relate. She's lost Nick. She doesn't know she has some idea of where he is, but she doesn't really know where he is or if he's still alive. So she's lost a child essentially as well. So she's dealing with the same things, and it's kind of like, look, this is the world we're in. Like I gotta be that Rick Grimes pragmatic person who takes charge. We gotta make sure everybody stays alive. We
Yeah.
gotta just make sure we keep this place safe. So we can't just stop. We can't just lose it and just go into this pity party hole because there are people counting on us.
Do you
So
think-
I felt like it was just kind of like, okay, I need to get away from you because you're sucking all my energy dry.
Do you think it's entirely pity party, or do you think there's an element of the fact that they're all very aware now that if it does all go a bit tits up and they die, they just want to have their consciences clear?
I mean, I think that is a part of it, but I think now we're hearing so much from these different characters, like Olivia, and then a little bit from Travis, where they're just kind of like, we're just biding time. You know, we're not really gonna make it out of this. There's not really gonna be a future for us. We're just hoping and wishing and praying that we have a few more weeks, a few more months, or however long. So I think it's all of them just trying to come to terms with them, you know, maybe being in a place where they thought they could have a future, and like maybe now a lot more characters are realizing, okay, there really isn't going to be a future. Like, this is it.
Well, you see a lot of characters making. I mean, that seems to be two roads you can go down. The road that all of these characters seem to be going down is the one that is still. We are holding on to some amount of humanity, and the fact that she knows that her father left a note, or the fact that Chris doesn't remember, goddamn, he was the last thing said to him. These things matter, as opposed to these characters like in the truck, you know, our frat boys, who are just like, he looks like he's dying, let's kill him, right? Where it's just like, it's all resources, it's a warm body. Which at that point it becomes like, what's the point of living in the world if that's the way you're going to act? But a lot of people in this world seem to do that, and that is that survival. You click into survival mode. So
and you know, I also felt like the conversation, I don't know, it did feel a little strange for me, because you didn't really have to reveal the father committing suicide for you to explain to Alicia like why she's so concerned about Nick. You know, it's just she could have talked about it. Just, I don't know, it just seemed like the really wrong time to kind of bring it up, and then not really necessary. Like, I think Alicia does really understand how much trouble Nick was in. Like, she was in the crux of it too, in the thick of it, all those years having to take care of him too. So I mean, I saw what they were trying to do there, but it just, I don't know, it seemed like kind of a backwards way for her to just be like, look, I'm sorry, I effed up. You know, I don't love Nick more than I love you, you know, but you were okay and Nick wasn't, and he's still not okay, and you are. So well, that's why I'm fighting so hard for him.
I love the turn of phrase that Maddie used, which was about Nick, was that he can walk into a room and light it up with his smile, and then he can silence it with his mood.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that he, you know, obviously she sees that he can look after himself. He's effectively, you know, a leader in any situation, but also he can be the most destructive force in his own life.
Yeah, with his mood. Can silence a room with his mood. That's also coming from a mother who's particularly sensitive to the love of her child. Which is like, to strangers, he probably can't do much of that if they don't care.
Yeah.
Him being all mopey is not going to do much.
Right.
A lot of miserable people in the apocalypse.
Yeah, right, there's a lot of miserable
You'd think they could be having a bit...
Look at me, I'm being chased by the undead. Stop eating yourself.
I'm in Mexico for 2 weeks. Hey, baby.
So something I thought kind of interesting was in the exchanges between Travis and the guys in the barn.
Yeah.
So there was two kind of cutaways where they didn't exactly resolve the confrontation. And both times I was just kind of like, judging by the way these guys are holding guns, I don't see it happening that way. Travis shoots a gun at Brandon's feet.
Yeah.
And then we just cut away. And Travis is fine, and they haven't shot at each other, and nobody's attacked each other, and Travis is in the barn. Yeah. And I was like, how did that scene end? He's like, all right, we'll just lower our guns even though you just shot at me. Yeah. And then the second one being, they go in there, and they hold him down, and they kill James, and they've got a gun to Travis's head, and then we cut away. Again, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Both of those scenes, it was kind of just like unresolved. I didn't really, how did those scenes end? I mean...
Well, I just thought it was weird because if they're willing to kill their own friend...
That's what I'm thinking.
You know, like, what does your dad mean to us, you know? Especially if they did shoot at him. If he's threatening to kill us, like, that would be the first... Like, I'd at least have to just shoot you on principle, you know, to, like, reassert my dominance in this group.
Well, I get at that point in it, they weren't entirely convinced that they had Chris on side, I think. So they didn't want to jeopardize that by perhaps, you know, shooting Travis or causing shit with Travis in case Chris was like, I'm gonna side with my dad.
But he was willing to side with them the whole time, just based off his attitude, based off of the fact that he helped them eventually kill was James, and then the fact that he left with them. Like, I think it was obvious too that his dad was just kind of like just there. Like, they just happened to find him and his dad together. But if Chris was by himself, I don't think it would have really been that much of an issue for him.
The thing that confused me most of all was when James, who was saying, I'm getting better, And he was saying he wanted to eat chicken because the protein will help him heal.
Did you know that protein helps gunshots?
Well, I'm not aware of if you go to like an emergency room and they go, I'm in shots. What do you need? McNuggets.
Yeah, chicken.
Yeah.
Chicken McNuggets. Let's get some.
Extra sweet and sour
Yeah,
sauce,
hang on.
folks.
It's a really serious wound. KFC.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that chicken
I thought that was actually
had
a great.
medicinal effects.
I thought it was a great line because I thought it was like such a funny indicator of like a couple things, like how sort of it's like a bro line,
Yeah.
like protein, right, bro? And then also like how young these guys are.
Yeah, just how ignorant.
You know, because like, okay, in the most self-deprecating way possible, I could literally see myself in the exact same saying the same thing, not because I legitimately think it does, but
Right.
because like if you're somebody who works out, you're like, oh, protein helps your muscle recovery, so protein must help you heal, right? And like you're like I thought it was funny, like.
No, it was.
Yeah, it was funny, but I was just like,
You idiot.
Yeah.
really? Yeah, you're like, you're really, really stupid.
Travis is like, oh God, I'm with the Three Stooges.
I did like the joke. It was like, hey, what do you want though? Do you want a wing? Do you want like anything but thigh, bro?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, nice one, because he got shot in the thigh.
Was that? Did I hit the nerve? Big turkey thighs. Did I hit a nerve?
It's my stripper name.
Yeah.
You know it is my stripper name.
Big turkey thighs.
Big turkey thighs.
So let's move on to our sort of final little bit of the episode. The conversation that Madison has with Alicia about Nick and about her father and the fact that he did commit suicide. Is this sort of a cathartic moment for Madison and Alicia, do we think? Do we think this is going to change their relationship? Alicia seemed to be pretty receptive. She
Yeah, but again, with the faces. I mean, she cuddled her. You know, she cuddled into Maddie and she was like, yeah, I love you. You could see on her face, it's like, it was almost like Maddie's, I'm sorry, face. It was kind of like, your face, your mouth says it's okay.
Right.
Your face says, fuck you.
Yeah.
It was, I didn't buy it. I think she's still not entirely happy with the situation.
I think their relationship has changed. I think that in a lot of ways, they're both very much more pragmatic. Like, even when they're emotional with each other, because usually with women, especially like a mother-daughter, there's a little bit more of an emotional, intense bond there. And I don't think that they've really related to each other quite in that womanly mother-to-daughter way. I think it's been a little bit more practical, like, okay, with Alicia just being like, okay, you messed up, it's all right, it's fine, and, Madison like, okay, but, this and that. So it's just, I don't know, I feel like there's a little less emotion there, and it's just kind of more routine, like, this is what we got to say, and this is what we got to do so we can be cool, so that we can just move forward.
Well, I think it's also the shift in the dynamic there, and we touched on this previously by the fact that it's obviously, Alicia had scolded Madison for doing the dick move of turning on the lights, and because of that, then they got a load of people at the gates, repeatedly. They kind of ruined their safety. So I think there's an element of like going, yeah, it's fine, Mum. You're kind of the liability now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to clean up your shit.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that, and it's like, okay, let's do the mother-daughter thing. You tell me the secret, and well, you're a good mother. Well done.
Yeah.
You're still a liability. I'm just gonna kind of watch.
No, this is definitely not
I
Gilmore
got your
Girls.
back.
I know,
Yeah.
right? Because it feels like okay, so with Jack on the radio, Alicia made a mistake. That's her error. But aside from that one, she hasn't made a whole lot of errors in the show. Whereas it seems like Madison's made a lot of errors. She continues to make mistakes. So it's kind of interesting how, and even Madison's line when talking to Alicia, where she's like, what did it say? She's like, it's not important. She's like, what do you mean it's not important?
Yeah.
It's like Madison's like, I'm your elder. I can run the show here. Just trust me. When Alicia's kind of like, actually, I kind of am handling myself a little better than you, Mom.
Yeah.
And I like that they've focused on Alicia growing up and being mature in the sense that she's sort of running things, but they haven't taken her down a romantic path yet with somebody who becomes like sort of her equal significant other that she values on that, like, this is a life partner level, which they probably eventually will do, and they sometimes do. And I mean, obviously that happened with like Glenn and Maggie and in Walking Dead, but it took a while. She's very young in this show, and I like that they've kept her romantically. She is like 16 or 17 or something like that.
Yeah.
But that from an actually like handling things, arranging, organizing, planning, she's an equal. She's like totally on board, which is great.
Yeah, she is. But the show for me doesn't feel like it supports a romantic. The situations haven't been right, even if the characters were there. In the beginning, when they were on the boat, it kind of was an environment where you were like, yeah, that kind of thing could happen.
Yeah.
But in the environments they're in at the moment, I don't see that happening. And I don't see it happening until perhaps the next season, when they inevitably end up back in America. I mean, there are so many signposts for that at the moment. Yeah. Hey, where are you going to? I'm going back to America. Yeah. Where are you going? I'm going to America. And it's kind of like, so season 3 is going back to America then.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't think it's not the right place for it right now.
That's true, because we also are not really feeling that with Madison and Travis. Like the spark between them from season 1, it's kind of disintegrated in my opinion. Like it just didn't feel, it's my wife, but it didn't feel like they were quite the same. Maybe that's because there's been so much time and them being apart, but just them reconnecting, it felt forced, and it was almost kind of uncomfortable to watch. Like you were these two people who were almost complete strangers.
Well, I mean, I think we're all still waiting for Stratison, so we'll see what happens there.
I like that.
Stratison?
Yeah.
It's better than Manned.
Yeah.
Stramander.
You've been manned. It's like that sounds horrible.
Madison? I like Stratison.
But I'm just wondering now, actually, with Travis and Maddie, whether in fact the fact that they are both kind of like going, things are kind of gone, turned to shit a little bit, that they're actually going to go. I mean, and Travis talking about the relationship that they had, and obviously saying, I sided with Chris when he went loco and was hanging about in your room and trying to kill your daughter. That little thing. And so they're both kind of going, I made a mistake, and she's like, I've made mistakes. So maybe that will bring them close together, and they're less having to do the parenting thing, and that can go now. So they're like, well, maybe we should.
Yeah.
Or maybe, it was the parenting thing that was keeping them together in the first place, because they wanted to do the family thing, and now they're looking at each other as independent units.
Yeah, that's
could go
true.
either way, I think.
Yeah, because he mentions that. He talks about how, you had your responsibility to Alicia, I had my responsibility to Chris, and I tried to make it seem like it was our family. But, in this world, you kind of also, you have to prioritize. You got to think about it in those separate terms. And I think that it's hard now in this world, too, to really get too involved into a romantic situation, because there's just so much more to think about. It's like, okay, anniversary or clear the walkers off the beach. It's like, priority.
Hey, who says that can't be an anniversary event?
Yeah, I was just going to say, who says they're mutually exclusive?
Yeah, let's go knock some, walkers out the water, babe.
Hey, you want to go and knock some walkers?
Exactly. I drew your name in blood. Yeah. Isn't it beautiful? So, yeah.
Let's cover ourselves in zombie guts and go hang out on the beach with all the walkers so we don't get messy.
This is the worst, fan fiction.
With the margaritas. Yeah. Stratison will bring the margaritas.
You've got guts, baby. All over you.
But I'm Simon Thompson, y'all. He'll be here all night.
I will. I live here now.
So speaking of these romances, shall we get into predictions, what we think is going to happen going forward? All right.
Okay.
It's time for your AfterBuzz.
Now, your AfterBuzz
That was good. That's the second time you faked me out. Okay.
He loves it.
Ben Bateman Kenobi.
All right, guys, this is going to be a very special predictions because we only have one episode of this season left.
Yes.
And so this is our last one to predict.
Big week next week.
It's a double episode.
Double.
It's 2 hours long. It's like watching a movie, a Fear the Walking Dead movie. You wonder, actually producing a 2-hour episode of this show.
How long that takes.
Yeah, well, you wonder,
At least 2 hours. Just doing the maths. Or math. Yeah.
So as well as predictions, I think we'll do our final rendition of Carol Watch. And I think in this episode, we don't have a lot of options.
No.
So I think for me, it's pretty clearly Alicia is the Carol at this point, because we didn't even get Ophelia in this episode.
Yeah.
I don't think it's fair to call any of the other characters we really saw Carol, so it's a shoo-in, but I think for me it's...
I won't say for this episode, but I think maybe Ophelia. I just have a feeling like we'll kind of get a little bit more resolve of her character. I think we're all heading back to the good old US of A. America. It's really, really hard to say. I mean, it can kind of go either way. I think that if Chris is still alive, he might have a moment where he will sort of realize, okay, Travis is I think that Travis will have some resolve with Chris, whether it's him dealing with him face to face or just letting go of him altogether and having that turning point moment. I think a major character is going to die. I don't know why I have a feeling like it might be Travis.
They're kind of setting it up for Travis or Chris or both. I'm not really sure which, but it seems to be. What about you, Simon? Who's your Carol? What are your predictions?
Well, I was going to go for the chickens, but unfortunately they all died to heal wounds. I don't know. I mean, a lot happened with quite a few of the small number of the characters today, but they all seem to be flailing a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Ophelia as well, even though we didn't see her in the episode today, because I think we're gonna see. I think potentially we could see her turning round and coming back and kicking ass. I think she might have achieved what she wanted to achieve, and she's come back to get the others, or she's gone ahead with the search party. So I see her, because we saw her in her combats and boots and stuff. I think we could see more of her next week. So I think she's still going to be, for me, Carol Watch.
Yes.
So I will say with Ophelia long term, I think is probably more likely than Alicia. But I don't agree with you guys that Ophelia is going to come back next week. Necessarily. I think because they gave us 2 right off into the sunset moments between Chris and Ophelia in 2 episodes, I think it would seem sort of too convenient for them both to turn around and end up at the hotel. I think that Ophelia is being placed in America. I mean, if you figure they're all leaving from the same place, it's not as if where they're driving from to get to San Diego is that far, probably. Yeah. It's probably several hours.
But also, Derek and his truck of dicks, or the Bromigos, they were heading for San Diego.
But turned around.
They'd come back.
Well, I don't necessarily think Ophelia is going to come back. I think we'll see possibly scenes of where she was going.
Yeah.
And so it'll be separate from where they are in Mexico, but I think she's going to for sure be heading back to the U.S. But I don't know. I just have a feeling like they set that up to where we're going to figure out exactly what her whole path, like, I understand, Mom, like, what I need to do type of thing.
Yeah, as far as other predictions go, I mean, I still don't believe that we'll see Nick, Alicia, Madison, or Strand. I think those are the 4 unkillable characters. I think Ophelia survives the season because they're setting up her arc to be important next year.
Yeah.
I think it's likely that Chris and Travis, or one of them, definitely dies. I think it's almost, in fact, a guarantee one of them is going to die next episode. I would probably guess it's Chris. It feels more likely.
I think it's going to be Chris, and I think Chris is going to shoot Travis.
It might leave him for...
Yeah, I think Travis is going to have to take out Chris for some reason, and I think Chris is going to then shoot his dad.
Yeah, and he won't die, but he'll be shot and have to heal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
Strand
Join Strand, yeah.
Yes, well, Strand seems to be doing a lot better. I'll tell you why. Eating his chicken.
Yeah.
So then will it be like a Travis in there? Could it be a Travis and Strand, since they're like both shot?
Yeah.
Maybe they'll bond
Invincible.
and connect over that and like eat meat together and like get strong together. Like, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Sure. I don't know. I didn't see it going that way. Stravis?
It's Travis.
Trans?
Travison?
I don't
Yeah, or
even know.
Travis, yeah.
Yeah. I still prefer Stratison. But I think that's probably the most likely thing. What's your ideal scenario for characters that die next week? See, my ideal scenario is that Chris and Travis both die. And I think you kill off Chris, I think you kill Travis, and I think you kill, like, most of the supplemental characters that you've met. Like, I think you could easily kill Alejandro. I think Nick's girl survives probably.
Yeah.
But I would guess you could kill
Luciana.
Yeah, Luciana, and I would guess you could probably still kill most of the hotel occupants that we've gotten to actually know as well.
Yeah.
I think you have to kill quite a few people in Colonia because I think it's going to be obvious that Nick is going to reunite with everybody and they're all going to get back to America. So you have to give him a good enough reason to leave Colonia. So I think if Luciana gets the boot, that'd be enough motivation. And I think if we find out what the deal with Alejandro is, and we saw the scene in the next upcoming episodes with somebody, with the drugs and all that stuff like that. It could be Nick. It could be him just strung out again and then just
could be him shooting someone else up too.
Yeah. So I think that he's going to really F things up with the Colonia, and he's going to have to go back and be forced to go back. But I don't know how much I like that. It just kind of feels like, okay, I was gone this whole season. I'm just going to trail back and
So I was saying about the Colonia before we turned on the cameras. That feels so much like a means to an end plot piece. Like whereas
it's a MacGuffin.
Yeah, it doesn't add as much to the story as I think I'd like to. Whereas I think the stuff with Chris and Travis has been really important.
Yeah.
The stuff with the hotel's been very important. Even Ophelia going off in a truck because it didn't occupy so much airspace. But Nick and his story there occupied so much airspace.
Yeah.
We've got to know all these characters that to keep them, you have to find a way to use the Colonia or, everybody, the mass exodus and everybody dies.
I think Nick and his girlfriend they're gonna leave. I think Alejandro's gonna die.
Yep.
I think he'd be dead. I think we're going to see some altercation with the Bandit guys. I think we're going to see that. Where that's going to go, I don't know. They might just decide to go their separate ways. And I think we're going to see some deaths within the hotel.
Yeah.
Which is always terrible for those reviews.
Yeah.
So,
No more
but,
chicken deaths either, too.
But there are so many expendable people in that hotel. I mean, a lot of the staff they've got there right now, and a lot of the people that the 48 whatever came in today, you know, apart from Bat Lady, no one else got a look in. I mean, it's great if you're an extra.
Yeah.
You know, great, you got a couple of days' work out of it, but nobody there has been given a name or an identity. They're all massively expendable.
One or two of them will end up being relevant.
Yeah,
characters,
they're going to be like, you know, cannon fodder.
Yeah, but they'll save one or two and bring them with. So.
Yeah.
That pretty much does it for my piece of predictions. Do you guys have anything else you want to add?
No.
So guys, thank you so much for listening and watching. We had a great time critiquing this episode. We have one more left.
We did.
So follow us on Twitter. I'm at Ben Bateman Media, and you guys can we'll tweet exactly about what time we're going to be going live next week, because it's a double episode, so it might be an hour later. We're not sure.
Very special night next
We're going to
week.
find out for you right now.
Yeah.
Ash, where can people find you?
On Instagram and Twitter, Ashley_Chatman, and many chickens were harmed in the filming of this episode. Just letting you guys know.
Finger licking goods. No. Hello. I'm Simon Thompson. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at ShowbizSimon.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. We'll see y'all soon.
All right, bye.
Next week, in fact.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.